Puppy training is all about motivation, and in this video, I'm going to prevent you from making the same mistakes that most puppy owners do. I'm Steve. Welcome back to McCann Dogs. When we talk about those 10 missed puppy training opportunities, we're really referring to those first 10 kibbles that you pour into the bowl. Each of those you can look at to reinforce a certain behavior, and it can be any behavior. Before I feed my puppy, I may take those first 10 kibbles, and while they're looking at me because they're interested in the food that I've just poured in the bowl, I can say their name, yes and reward, name, yes and reward. I can do that 5 times. That's 5 of those opportunities that I haven't wasted. I can take the next 5 and maybe just teach my dog to follow food and yes and reward as that dog moves away. And within 30 seconds, I've capitalized on those 10 opportunities instead of just letting them go out to the bowl. Now, I don't want you to just think about those 10 kibbles at that mealtime. What I want you to do is think about all the food that you feed your dog for the day. Let's say I have a bowl of 100 kibbles and I split that bowl into 3 other bowls for those puppy meals. I want to then take some of those 3 meals and separate those again and use those to create multiple opportunities throughout the day to teach my dog that paying attention to me is a really important thing, and that I am able to ask them to do something and I can reward them and have those rewards ready to go. We know puppies have small little bellies and they have short little attention spans, so breaking this into little teeny bits can really build on a little bit more reliability and can really reinforce the fact that working with you is very valuable. When our puppies are out of the crates, they are supervising them, we're watching what they're doing because we know puppies are learning all the time. But oftentimes we get stuck waiting for them to do things wrong and then trying to correct them when they do. I want to change that thinking a little bit and have you a little bit more prepared for when they do things correctly. So if I've set some of that food aside and I know I have that available, whether it be in my pockets or just up on the counter, wherever I happen to be, if my dog naturally does something that I like, I am able to quickly mark and reward that behavior. And one of the questions we get as instructors often is, why do your dogs pay attention to you so much? Why do they naturally want to look at you? And that's really because we never waste an opportunity to reward either a dog that focuses on us or naturally does a behavior that we like, which could simply be sitting and looking up at me. If you're prepared with those rewards and you're prepared to be able to back up those things that they naturally do, when you ask them to do things, it becomes much easier for them to understand that there's also value there. Now, having food always around to reward my dogs doesn't mean that I'm just indiscriminately throwing treats out. I'm still looking for certain things, and I will tell you the most common one that I look for with a busy puppy is just to sit and be calm. And you know the difference between a dog that's sitting and excited versus a dog that's sitting in a relaxed position. Those to me are the perfect opportunities to sort of set the foundation for what gets my dog rewards. Now, when my young puppy, and again, this is more relating to young baby puppies, when my young puppy understands that calmly sitting and maybe looking at me gets a reward, I want to start to build on that duration. You know as well as I do that a lot of young puppies, the moment you give them a treat, they say this is great and off they will go again. I want my dogs to start to understand that maintaining a position and having some duration there is really what I'm looking for. And that can be in any position. It may not be a dog that sits. It may be a dog that wanders into the kitchen and is quite happy and just simply lies down at your feet. Those are great things to reinforce 1 or 2 times and then wait and see what your dog does. If that dog still maintains that position, then I can reinforce it a couple of more times. I'm not just going to give them that whole handful of food. I'm going to space out those to really build some commitment into the things that I like. Your baby puppy will start to learn that holding those positions and maintaining those positions is a really valuable thing. And I can then start to translate that into asking them and expecting them to do it. If my dog starts to naturally offer it, then I can start to introduce a command. I can introduce a sit command and then a little lure into position. But if I've spent some time rewarding my dog for holding the position, it becomes a whole lot easier for them to understand what it is that I want. Obviously, the most common place that we practice this or rehearse this training is in the kitchen, because that tends to be where the food is and that tends to be where we feed our dogs. But we know that environment plays a huge role in how our dogs learn. And for baby puppies, it's even more important that we're aware of that. So before you think about taking those 10 kibbles and trying to do these things in the backyard or in the front yard or when you pick the kids up from school, take baby steps. Go into the living room, go into the family room, go downstairs to the place where nobody goes. Change to different places in your house so that your dog understands that no matter the environment, you are the source of everything, and they learn to work with you in those different environments. By doing it in little baby steps, that kibble may be enough. Food is a great motivator for dogs. It really, really is. But if we get into an environment where things are much too exciting or much too stimulating, I can guarantee you that kibble is not going to be enough. And that's when we talk about changing rewards for the environment. Okay, but right now with these baby puppies, we want to keep them in the house and we want to build that understanding there. Now, I want to be clear about something. I still want you to feed your dogs 3 meals a day, and I still suggest that they have structured meal times, a breakfast, a lunch, and a dinner. But what I want you to do is think about taking some of that entire amount of food that you're feeding them each day and separating that for training. With my young dogs, the more training I do, their meals tend to be a little bit smaller that day. If they are having a little bit more quiet day, then they would actually get, again, that same amount of food. So even though I'm doing more training, my dog doesn't get more food. It's important that we have motivated dogs and dogs that are willing to work, but it's also important that we keep our dogs fit and not overfed. I've talked a lot about this with baby puppies, but those of you that have older puppies or adolescent dogs, this is a great approach for you to use as well, because if I'm teaching, let's say, a busy teenage dog to sit at my side while people go by, it's important that I take opportunities when my dog is a little bit more motivated by food and a little bit more willing to accept that reward at that time. It's something that I can capitalize on to really help teach some behaviors in place of things that I don't really want my dogs to do. At the beginning of the video, I talked about the 10 puppy training opportunities that you're missing every day. And those 10 opportunities are not just those 10 kibbles in your hand. Those represent the 60 or 90 seconds that I want you to use those 10 kibbles to keep your puppy motivated and focused and working for you. Now that we've talked about keeping your puppy focused and motivated, check out this playlist. It's going to help you decide what it is you should be teaching them. If this is your first time on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And with that, I'm Steve. Happy training.